Hi, my name is Grace Shalom Hopkins and welcome to another episode of Spin Weekly. Say hi! Today we are spinning the Designs by Amber fiber that we unboxed a while ago, and you can find the unboxing down below. Designs by Amber is a Canadian-based fiber company, so for all you Canadian people out there, you should check her out. Now, I went into more detail on all the different things that I find super unique about this maker in the unboxing video, so you can check that out below. But, yes, today I am going to share with you a mashup spin that I did. So I took the ROVING and this Batt and put them together doing a... In my book, the Batt prep that I'm going to do, I call it Stripes from None, which basically means I take apart the Batt and then reconstruct it based on my own desires. And then I just spun the roving in chunks end to end. I divided it up so it wasn't linear, and looking back, I could have skipped that step. I was thinking about doing a... trying to match the colors with the gradient, but in the end I decided I didn't want to do that after all, so I just ended up with chunked fiber, so you'll see that in the video. Also, I wanted to point out that if you are a Patreon member or you would like to become a Patreon member, you can have access to the voiceover version of this video along with your $5 a month pledge. So no pressure, but if you would like to have the voiceover of this, I will walk you through the step-by-step of how I did this in the Patreon version of this video. The reason I did this is because this is a recipe from my book Batt, and those books are my livelihood, and if I be giving away the recipes, then I just can't pay my bills, and that would be somewhat problematic for me. Alright, so first of all, you take the Batt and you open it up and you begin separating it. Obviously here, being incredibly helpful, I thought I'd leave this clip in to show you kind of the real life of what happens when I work on this stuff with Bean. So your goal here is to slowly peel apart the layers, and most bats have pretty distinct layers and you can peel them up. However, if you have a small human helping, things get a little bit more complicated. But again, just like it says in the recipe card, you peel the layers and you're working to separate. You can see here it's a little bit easier. Bean is behind the gate. Now, what happens is when the maker is carding the Batt, she puts on layers of fiber, and those fiber layers end up being sort of separated from each other, and that's how you can easily peel them across those fault lines. Now, I made a gradient here, and the middle ground was a little bit fuzzy because that purpley pile, that was the same roving. It was Kettle dyed, the purpley and the blue, so it was hard to separate them out exactly. When you're doing this, you just want to follow your gut and kind of see what's going on. A handy trick is to take a black and white photograph of the piles and then arrange them by value if you're going for a gradient. Or you can just use your phone as a black and white viewfinder. That's also really handy. So here you can see that I've divided them into a gradient and I've sprinkled the Angelina across the top, and now I'm just going to take handfuls, and I'm being really organic about this because I wanted a very subtle, sort of eclectic gradient rather than an exact, very crisp gradient, if you know what I mean. So I just ran it through my baby brother drum carder once to get a little puff of Batt. And then I did that with each of the colors, and I kept the portions fairly small so that way I wasn't blending too many colors on top of each other. Bless you. If you do it small, you get smaller pops of color rather than that layering that we saw when we originally took the bat apart. I didn't want layers, I wanted a blend. If you're finding your colors aren't blending enough, you can run it through the carder until you get the blend that you like. However, I was going for more of a semi-solid thing, so I just ran it through once. You can also use hand cards, a blending board, hackles, or combs to achieve this same look. This is a great opportunity to add other fibers in, add-ins like sparkle or silk, or you could darken it by adding a brown or a black fiber, or lighten it by adding a white. So I ended up just spinning the roving. At the beginning you saw that I divided it kind of, but I didn't end up following that order. So I just spun it across the top, and it went really well, really smoothly. This is an example. In the book I showed just the stripes from None Batt ply back onto itself, or a 2-ply, but this is an example of using it with another roving, and in this case that gradient really actually supports the eclectic nature of the roving in addition to downplaying it. Okay, so like I mentioned before, I recommend you check out the Stripes from None recipe card to get a lot more ideas on how I do this and the different ways that you can implement it using different fiber. This is just an example of using the technique applied with a roving. Alright, so here you're actually watching me spin the puffs from the bat, and I just did end to end, no fancy techniques. But the cool part comes in when I laid in the gold fiber that I had carded. I think I forgot to mention that before. I pulled out all of the gold from the bat and I carded them into small rolags. And then at random intervals I laid it into the bat singles, and that created the coolest pop of color. I really liked that. I felt like if I were going to disperse that gold throughout the bats, it would just kind of take away the pop factor. Whereas when I put it in the way that I did, it kept it a pop and it wasn't like dispersed throughout the fibers. Do you know what I'm trying to say there? Okay, so now we're going to apply it. I actually, because the bat and the roving were 4 ounces, it didn't all fit on my bobbin. So I wound each one off into a regular ball, not a center pull ball. You can see them in the background, and applied that way. And for those of you who are nervous about the center pull ball, this is a great way to do it. Also, apparently I'm off frame with my applying. But again, no fancy plying technique. It was just a basic 2-ply. All of the work comes from the color prep. That's how I like to do things around here. I like the prep to be the main work, and then the technique of actual spinning to be really meditative and straightforward and simple. That way you as the spinner can tailor it to fit whatever spinning style you want. You could literally spin a super chunky art yarn using this, or a tiny lace weight. That is the miracle of the recipe versus the "this is exactly how you do it" technique, which I'm not a fan of around here. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that spin. I felt like it went really well. So I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the finished yarn. I did have to, as you may have noticed, split it into 2 bobbins. So because I was working with 4 ounces, so here is 1 bobbin, and then here is the other bobbin. Of course, I will insert pictures right here of this yarn so you can see it better. I really love how the roving, the colors were so tightly packed that there were multiple colors on each staple length. And what happened is it provided an almost like marled, tweedy type of heathered look. It was really remarkable. I was actually nervous. I thought, I don't know how this is going to go. It's so different than what I was used to. And it went really well. So for future reference, if you have a Kettle dyed roving that is just super jam-packed with color, you may want to try and blending it with other fiber that has a more solid, mellow colorway. Alright, for example, this is the little pop that came off of the Batt that I had left over. So there's that little bit. And you see how it's like beachy and blue and gold, and it's fantastic by itself. Well, when you combined it with the roving, you have a completely different look. It adds more depth and color, but the roving doesn't immediately read as color. It reads as this smooth, just marled, tweedy, heathered is really the best way I can think of to describe it. So the Batt, because it was so structured, it was the blue semi-solid gradient and then the pops of the gold semi-solid. It really brings a consistency and the structure to the roving, and it's so nice. And the Designs by Amber roving really drafted well, really well. And the Batt was a breeze to take apart. Overall, it was just fantastic. I do want to point out, if you want to just stop at the Batt portion of the video demo and use that same technique to spin an entire Batt and ply it back on itself, the pops of gold really blend well. I'm saying really a lot. Really love it. Really. So I hope you really loved it too and are really inspired. If you would like to leave me a comment and tell me what the coolest part of this video. I'm a cow. You thought I was a fiber person? Nah, I'm just a cow. Are you my baby cow? Say moo. Baby cow go moo. Alright. I hope you enjoyed this video really a lot. Please leave a comment telling me what you would do with this technique. What kind of inspiration and ideas did this spark in your creative soul? I want to know. As always, if you have any projects you want to share with me, I am on Instagram at Grace Shalom Hopkins, and I would love to see your projects. Tons of people have been tagging me in their projects, and they are fantastic. You guys are incredibly talented, and I am so proud and blessed and just really enthused to have you in our community. If you are not subscribed and you would like to not miss out on any of the shenanigans that we have here on Spin Weekly, hit the subscribe button, like if you liked. And as always, this video is brought to you by our fantastic Patreon patrons. You guys are the heartbeat of the show, and I love you. Oops. I will see you next time.